this week. You may have jumped the gun last week.
Yeah, I did.
Because you kind of said when the last episode came out, it would have been my 4-year.
Yep.
But no, when this one comes out, it'll be my 4-year.
I was kind of hoping we weren't going to pick up on that, and I thought I got away with that.
No, because when I was editing the podcast from last week, I was also felt bad because I didn't even talk about how it was yours the week before.
Oh, you asshole.
I know, I'm so selfish.
You're such
I
an
was
asshole.
like, but this is like kind of, we can have a combined one for this episode. Yay! And the other thing was,
Oh, God.
I had my first divorce.
Yes!
Yeah, it's like official. I'm officially divorced.
Separated for
Don't know if
4
it's something
years.
you cheer about, but you know, it was 4 years in the making. And yeah, we had like my ex-wife came over and we had like a little bit of a divorce party. I don't think there's many people in the world that can do that. So
No, well, we had your ex-wife and her new partner here, and me. So it was like a little weird divorce party with our new partners.
Yeah, it was.
It was fun. It was a good night, though. It was fun.
Yeah. And that's about all I've got for the start of this episode.
Yeah, no, I haven't really been doing much either.
I know. You know what I do need to do, because I've noticed, because I haven't been running as much. I've been running like 2, maybe 3 times a week max, and my brain is like not quite there. You know, I've become
You're
a bit
only
foggy.
just realizing that?
Yeah, no, but like less than normal, which I can't have, because you know, when I'm running, it's like average. When I'm not running, it's like less
Below
than
average.
So yeah, hey, I'm allowed to say that.
Well, I've been doing double workouts at the gym, so I've been making up for.
You have actually. You've been crunching, grinding. Yeah, one of those words.
My squat depth's getting better. Let's just put it. That probably could have sounded really weird too. Anyway, moving on.
I could have made a joke about that, but moving on. Let's get a guest on, have a chat. Our guest today, because obviously leading out of last week, we talked about 6 months out of surgery. We get a guest on in that period of time, and our guest today is someone epic inside that time period.
So today's guest is fresh off the operating table. Sleeved just 7 weeks ago. His heaviest recorded weight was 220.5 kilos. This week he hit a pretty big milestone and he's lost 50 kilos. That's gone forever. Here to talk to us about his fresh start that he's been given. Please welcome Josh, aka the bloke with the mullet, aka finally finding Wally. Hey buddy, how you doing?
Yeah, good mate. How are you?
I had to throw in the mullet. I couldn't not mention it.
Kind of part of me, so.
I love it. Just, yeah, good mate. How you going? Yeah, bloody good mate. Yeah, bloody good. So I assume the Wally, finally finding Wally, comes out of the Wallace being the last name?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably it was a nickname that I shied away from at school. I didn't really like it, and then in adult life, it just stuck, and I've gone with it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I legit said to Shan before the episode, I was like, you know his name's not Wally, right? It's Josh, because I just figured that out.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
Yeah, it does happen a lot. I post something on Instagram and the name Josh is there, and I get heaps of inboxes saying, wait, your name's actually not Wally? I'm like, no.
Isn't it funny with nicknames though? Hey, like there's certain names you steer away from. I got Shagger at school. It was kind of like, you know how like someone gets bluey if they have red hair, because it's like the opposite. Yeah. I got Shagger because I got none. That was like complete opposite.
Talking about names though, icebreaker question for the week to lead us off. Have you ever been mistaken for, or do people think you look like someone famous?
I wouldn't say mistaken. I do get, I get it quite a bit. My mates do. It's Luke Combs, the country music singer. So even my butcher, I walked in the butcher one day and he pulled me up and told me the last time I was in there, he hit the other girl that was working there up and said, he looks like this bloke. So I don't see it, but yeah, apparently that's what it looked like. It's just,
I'm going to have to Google it and put a picture up because I don't know that person,
I can't. Do you sound like him though? Like, can you sing? Are you a country music singer at heart?
Look, we've never been seen in the same room together, so I may just be him.
Hearing it first here on Barry Banter.
Secrets out. Who's your celebrity look like?
I got told a little while, like ages and ages and ages ago, that I look like Drew Barrymore sometimes. Which kind of works because you're obsessed with...
That is kind of my celebrity crush, so, you know, that does work.
Who do you look like?
I don't know. Who do I look like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would
Maybe
say...
one of Prince Harry.
Yeah, we have the same receding hairline.
Same colour hair, same receding hairline.
That works. You know, let's start off, like, obviously, with you. I'm going to call you Wally, this whole thing. Josh.
Go for it.
Let's talk through the early stages for you. Obviously, you went into surgery. You had surgery, and how did you find the early stages?
It was probably easier than I thought it would be, to be honest. I've had touch wood. I've had a pretty smooth recovery. No real issues. I think the only real problem, well, not problem, the only real thing that I've struggled with is just not being able to drink water, like guzzle water. But yeah, it was pretty smooth. I was out of hospital the next day, and then back home. I started work from home the week after. So yeah, it was pretty smooth, to be honest.
Because you had the sleeve. It's funny, these days, a lot more people are going like the bypass over sleeve. So you've seen that you've gone sleeve. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's still a thing. We had sleeve, so it's definitely cool.
I didn't get an option, to be honest. So being the weight I was, my surgeon was quite cautious on what he wanted to do, and sort of pushed me down towards the sleeve path, and basically sold it that if, for whatever reason down the track I'm doing everything the right way and it's not working, then I can convert it, which ideally I don't want to, but obviously you can't go back from a bypass.
No, well, and originally bariatric surgery was meant to be a 2-step process anyway, where it was the sleeve and then went on to have the bypass afterwards. And I guess for the bigger BMI, why are you looking at that?
I was just laughing because the amount of people who are going back for revision surgery, like, years down the track, it is kind of a two-way process.
Well, I think it was originally made as a 2-step progress, but they're like, oh no, people are getting good results out of the sleeve, we'll make it its own thing. But obviously you being 220 clicks, I guess you're kind of the upper end of the bariatric starting point. Can you have you started kind of sitting down and understanding, because I was 175, almost 180 kilos, and I understood that my habits that got me there were a lot more exaggerated than probably someone who was 120 kilos, because to get to 180 or 220 clicks, you've got some pretty extravagant habits that you've kind of self-sabotaged to a degree. Have you started kind of understanding that at all yet?
I'm pretty comfortable in the fact that I got there myself and no one else really is to blame. But yeah, a lot of comfort eating and a lot of, I don't know, I tend to say that I like food, but you always go the easy option, and then when things get harder, you start going the easier option. But yeah, definitely worked out that I was doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because that's listening to you ask that question just then, Shan, you obviously have dealt with now the fact that, it took you 30 years to put the weight on and that you have an unhealthy relationship with food and blah, blah, blah. Do you reckon at 7 weeks out you would have had the same realization as what you do now?
No. I look back and 7 weeks out, whatever it was, or even 7 months out, I thought that the surgery had fixed me. I was like, oh, I'm top of the world. This is it. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about my weight anymore. And then it kind of, it came to that 2.5
But had you thought about going prior to surgery? Had you sat down and thought about why you actually had gotten to the way you are? Because I know for me personally, when you had the psychologist appointment, you had the doctors, the dietitian appointments, you'd say the things that they wanted you to say. But I know that I still kind of didn't want to admit that I had a bad relationship with food. So I guess early on in the piece, you don't really sort of sit there and go, oh yeah, I had a relationship with food. I was emotionally eating, and you know what I mean? It kind of takes time later on down the track.
These days, I'm slowly leaking some things out there. I've started realizing the reason I did a lot of things to, negatively impact my life is I didn't really like myself. It was a very self-sabotage kind of thing where I was putting myself second to everything else because I didn't really like myself. So it's been something that I've had to develop a self-love, a self-worth, and actually, like who I am, which is weird to kind of, and I can't put it into words what that means, but for me, I know what that means. So, 7 weeks out, 6 weeks out, no chance. I think you've got to ride, and this is what I've always said, as much as I've kind of got to this point now where I look at the mental side of things, I'm never going to discourage someone from the first 6, because
never.
That is the best year because you're so motivated, and you can do some epic stuff and learn a lot of stuff throughout that time. So, do you have kind of a goal over the first 6 months where you want to get to?
I don't really. I wanted to get to, obviously I wanted to get 100 total loss. And I think I set a goal in one of the tracking apps that I use for my weight, there's 150 in 6 months to get to 150.
Wow.
So I'm essentially 19 kilos away from that now.
So that your second milestone that you hit this week as well was that you actually saw 160 something on the scales too, which is pretty epic.
Yeah.
So you're not far off the 150 mark.
No, it's probably driven on by previous diets. I think the lowest I'd gotten to was 155 when I was doing keto, and obviously that went back on pretty quickly. But I think for me, it's a big mental game to get past that mark to then feel a bit more comfortable in what's going on.
Yeah, so 50 kilos gone in 7. That's freaking insane, to be honest. So you did a long pre-op though. So you did a four month.
4 months, yeah.
Yeah.
So I started. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so I got the ball rolling in September, and then had my first initial appointment with the surgeon, and he basically wouldn't touch me unless I lost 20 kilos. Gave me 6 weeks to do it, and I did it. After having a moment where I felt sorry for myself, but then realised, look, at the end of the day, I had nothing, no other option but to do it. So you lost that 20 kilos, and then we had another phone call appointment, and he wanted to get me in for a face-to-face, obviously, because I'd lost the weight, and I think he was probably a bit more surprised that I got there in the 6 weeks. So then, it was another couple of weeks until I saw him, and that was just before Christmas. And essentially, it booked in for January initially, but then COVID happened, and that one got cancelled, and I got pushed back out again. So, the worst thing I probably could have done, I felt sorry for myself when it got cancelled in Jan. Put a little bit of weight back on, but obviously realised what I was doing, and went back onto it. So
have you been a big weight loser in the past? Have you gone through the whole periods of losing, regaining, or
not constantly? I think most of my diets failed. It wasn't until I did keto that it was the only thing that I probably stuck to, and I did it for it would have been about 10, 11 months straight, and lost that 55 kilos in that time. So that was probably the only time I've really lost that big amount of weight. And
how did it make you feel when you got told, having a consultation with a weight loss surgeon, and you get told that you need to lose 20 kilos?
And that would have been because, and I learnt this the other week because Brenda, when she did her talk up at Noosa, is that because of the weight restrictions on the beds and stuff? So you had to be under 200 kilos for the bed weights? Was that
He
right?
He didn't say that. He just thought it'd be safer, which I understand. And
yeah, totally.
After you have your moments of feeling sorry for yourself, you sort of think about a bit more logically, and which it makes, obviously, the lower the BMI, the safer the surgery is for him, and for me. But it was a bit of a kick in the guts, and I think I put a post up on Instagram and sort of said, "You ever been told you're too fat for weight loss surgery?" And that's basically what I was feeling in that moment. So,
yeah. It's funny because I actually had to, when I used to work at the clinic, I had to make the call to check in with somebody because it was a very similar situation. He was 220 something kilos, and the surgeon said, I just can't operate on you, safety wise, and the beds at our hospital would only go up to 200 kilos. They just wouldn't have anything else. So here I am, a little receptionist, calling someone and finding out, how are you going on your little diet? And I got an earful because he was just kind of like, I've come to a weight loss surgery clinic and I'm being told to lose weight before they'll even operate on me, and I was just kind of like, eek.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to say.
It's also I know I've talked to my surgeon about it prior. Sometimes they'll set you little tasks like that as a test to see if you're serious about it. I know with me, he put me through the ringer with sleep tests, swallow test. Like, he made me go through all the tests. And I look back now and I'm like, he honestly didn't know if I was going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And that's why he made me jump through the hoops. And I guess with some people with the weight thing, that could be another test, lose to 20 kilos. And then I know that you're serious about this.
Yeah.
So.
And when you were on that 4-month pre-op diet, was it a strict pre-op diet? Like, was it 2 shakes a day and only being allowed to have, the allowed vegetables? Or were they a little bit more lenient on it for that extended period of time?
It was full on. He set me up with a dietitian, obviously, and she laid out, just gave me the paperwork for what the normal pre-op would be. But they didn't really tell me they weren't, you have to stick to this or anything. I just chose to because I figured I'm gonna have to do it sooner or later. So I may as well get the ball rolling on that. So I was pretty strict with it for 90% of it, and you allow yourself a couple of days here and there when you don't, I didn't have anything booked in, so I was, I'd have a day or two, a day where I'd eat a meal that wasn't pre-op worthy, and then I just stuck to basically what they told me. So yeah, I was pretty strict, I guess.
And did you have any pre-existing health issues or anything?
No, surprisingly.
No?
No, 220 kilos. The doctor told me I was fit, and I laughed at him.
You were like, "Are you sure you're looking at the right bloods? Like, it's me that doesn't know."
And were you quite an active, because I always talk to my ex, and she goes, "Yeah, but you're quite I was quite an active, heavy guy." Were you quite an active, heavy guy?
I was playing rugby, so obviously you're training for that twice a week and playing on Saturdays, and you walk the dog and that sort of thing. I wasn't super active, but especially in winter, obviously when I had that routine of rugby, I was active-ish.
Yeah, that'll always test you, the old rugby.
Trying to
Even
run
it. They don't go easy on you just because you're a big guy. Trust me, I know. I played league for a lot of years, and I was just like, I can't keep up.
So leading into surgery, like Sham was just talking about the different tests that his surgeon got him to do. Did they give you did they make you go through all the sleep apnea tests and everything too? Like, what process did you go through before having surgery?
No, it was pretty quiet, to be honest. I just had to lose 20 kilos, and then that was it. There was no sleep test, no swallow test.
Really?
You didn't do a barium swallow?
No, nothing.
You didn't do bloods?
Oh, blood test, obviously, yeah. But no other real tests, I guess.
That surprises me, especially with the amount of people getting revision surgery for reflux. Why barium swallow when someone's having the sleeve isn't a mandatory thing, just to make sure this person isn't going to have reflux.
Have you suffered from any reflux since surgery?
Oh, I have a tiny bit. Nothing major. I think I maybe take a Nexium every couple of days if I need to, but nothing really.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty good in that department.
It could just be dietary at the present time, because there's sometimes with the reflux, it could just be something you're eating is giving you the reflux. Hopefully it's not more than that, because unfortunately the revision rate for sleeve with the reflux, I think it was 14% or something like that, which is quite high.
It is quite
high. Surgery day. Surgery day. Let's talk through your surgery day.
Leading into surgery, did you have any concerns? Were you shitting bricks the night beforehand or anything?
I was pretty nervous. It was my first major surgery. I've only had hand surgery before this. I think the one worry I did have was just the being put to sleep part. It sort of got on my nerves a bit. But apart from that, the only other issue was you stress about, have I done enough, or are they going to wake me up and haven't done the surgery? That was always a big worry.
Yeah. You look straight down. You're like, oh no, they did it.
Yeah.
Either that or they just opened me up and then closed me back up. I actually asked my nurse they're like, did you do it? Yeah, they did it. And I was like, oh,
thank God. And how was the whole being put to sleep experience? Do you remember it? Was it what you were kind of hoping for? Does that make sense?
Did you get good sleep?
Did you only get to 3 before you were passed out?
I didn't even count, to be honest. It was pretty good. My anaesthetist is a legend, actually. He made the whole process a bit easier. He was just a down to earth, and we're just having general conversation, and he wasn't really, when you get a doctor in there and they're prim and proper, he was swearing and saying all sorts of stuff. Yeah. But it made me feel pretty comfortable, and next thing I know, I'm waking up in recovery. I didn't even get to count, so I'd be just disappointed about
Yeah.
I never know what number I would have gotten to.
I think that's why I liked my surgeon is because he wasn't prim and proper either. And there's something about that kind of gives you this comfort where if you feel like as much as they're taking it seriously, they're acting like they're not taking it seriously. And it's just like, oh, it is what it is, like, and it makes you feel like, oh, this isn't a big deal. Like, they don't even care, It's like...
I think they also read the room a little bit too, though. Like, if you're somebody who's super anxious about it, they're probably not going to be sitting there swearing.
Yeah, but if I
at
had
you
someone
and,
like a surgeon who's like counting every scalpel and like really serious, I'm like, oh my God, he's like stressed about this. But like a surgeon being like, oh, we're just going to chop you open, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is chill for him. Like he knows what he's doing. It's not going to affect me. Did you have any fears going into surgery?
No, no, not really. Like I said, the only thing I really stressed about was being put to sleep and waking up, and it hadn't been done. But I think at this point, I was pretty ready for it.
And then, so, sorry, I totally, like, when you were in recovery, like, I think one day out, I started chatting to you from the BARI BANTER account, like, just kind of be like, so, hey. And then I was like, shit, you're only one day out from surgery. I probably shouldn't ask you to come on BARI BANTER.
He's like, yeah, no, I'll be there tomorrow.
I was like looking through your post and you're like, I actually did a lap at the hospital today. And I was like, probs shouldn't ask him to come on when he's still in hospital. I'll let him get home before I ask you. But did you say you only spent one night in hospital?
Yeah, one night, which is probably surprising. I think the nurses were a bit surprised because when they got me out of surgery into recovery, my blood pressure sort of dropped. And they don't really exactly know why, but they think I almost OD'd on pain meds because I was out of it. But yeah, I woke up and the room was full of doctors and everyone's stressing out and I'm trying to have a sleep. So yeah, the nurses were quite surprised that I was out the next day with no issues.
Oh, wow.
And is that a protocol though for your surgeon? Because I know like a lot of people, they kind of keep you in hospital for a minimum of 2 nights just to like monitor everything. Is that sort of a normal protocol for your surgeon that if you're A-OK after one night, they just send you home and just like monitor you from home?
Yeah, basically said from the get-go that like obviously I did it through super and he said you'll get a quote for 2 days. He goes, but 90% of his patients are out the next day. So
wow.
I was looking forward to that, get home to your own bed, but obviously anything was wrong, I would have preferred to stay in. So
different between super and health cover because I was on health cover, so I decided just to stay the extra night because it was already getting taken out of my health cover anyway. Well, you're like, hey, I'm saving that super money.
Yeah,
I'm getting out of here after one night.
That's gonna buy me a wardrobe
because they were like,
the next 6 months.
They said to me, you can leave. You can leave tonight, or you can just stay the extra night if you want. I'm like, I've already prepaid for the extra night. I'm staying. This is a hotel for me.
Luxury hotel. So you've just made it through pretty much all of your phases, through your liquid phase, your puree phase, and you're just about ending on the soft food stage. He said to me today that if I want to see a grown man cry, to mention normal food again. But so what was the liquid phase like for you?
For me, it was fine. I think doing 4 months of shakes sort of prepared me for that.
Were you so sick of drinking shakes, though? Were you just like, I can't do another shake?
I haven't had another one since. So I didn't have a shake after surgery. I probably could have, should have. But yeah, I'd stay away from the shakes. But yeah, liquids were fine for me, to be honest.
And how long were you on liquids for?
2 weeks. So 2 weeks and then on to puree.
You did 2 weeks too. Yeah.
You did 3, didn't you?
No, I did 1 week of liquid and then 3 weeks of
3
puree.
weeks of puree. That's right.
How did you go with puree? Yeah. Everyone says that they prefer to do longer on liquids than puree.
Yeah, puree sucks.
Yeah. I essentially went back to liquids. That's how well I went on puree.
Yeah, smart man. Smart man. You obviously weren't prepared like a leader and you're more prepared like me where you're like, baby food from Chemist Warehouse, it really just doesn't hit the spot.
I didn't even try it. I thought about it, didn't try it, but the thought of pureed meat just didn't do it for me.
No, it doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste like meat. It tastes like a weird meat jelly.
But I didn't do like pureed meat all
No, but you're
time.
clever. Like you're clever. Like I even tried to do my own puree at home, and for some reason I don't know why, in my head, if you're having pureed meat and veg, they got to be together.
No.
I know, but do them separate. It makes so much sense.
But it's also like, smushing up egg and mixing it with cottage cheese and some avocado. That's puree and it's delicious.
True. I don't know why I didn't think it.
I
Because
feel
I was
like-
craving eggs and I waited to soft foods for eggs.
I feel like we need to do like a cooking show on like how to prepare food for puree stage and then taste it and see if we like the taste of it.
Yeah, I think it'd be good one.
Baked beans and melted cheese.
That's something I could have definitely used because I was like, I was struggling. I hated it. Have you had any like complications since your stages? Is it everything's gone pretty simple? You said you had a little bit of reflux, but not anything sinister. Anything else that's happened?
Well, I did end up in hospital a couple of weeks ago. So I had AF or arterial fibrillation or whatever the doctors like to call it. I'm not exactly sure what happened. The cardiologist I went to on Monday thinks it could be because of surgery and the changes in the body and that sort of thing. But apart from that, that's probably the only issue, and that one probably freaked me out a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, because anything to do with your heart, you kind of get a little bit like, oh God, like that's the thing that's keeping me ticking. So, but they're not concerned about it. Like even though it's related, they think it could be related to surgery. They don't think that there's going to be any sort of like long-term effect or anything.
Nah, I'm medicated now, so that's one thing. But he's got no concerns, and I think I see him again in 3 months' time, and I just got to get a couple of tests done, like an MRI and a CT scan before then. But he's pretty casual about it, which makes you feel a bit more comfortable about it.
Did your heart rate get higher, or like what was your heart rate sitting at?
Yeah, so I presented into emergency at 164.
Oh wow.
And so it was going pretty fast. I was having breakfast and felt the chest was rushing and couldn't get enough air in. So I figured instead of driving the 45 minutes to work, it's probably best to go to emergency.
Yeah.
You just got super excited about eating purees. You're like,
yes,
I can eat puree.
Oh my God, texture.
A bowl of Nutri-Grain.
Yes. So how much weight on average are you sort of losing a week at the moment?
Oh, it's been hit and miss for the last couple of weeks because of all the hospital visit and that sort of stuff. But I think it's averaging like 2.5 kilos a week, maybe.
Crazy.
That's insane.
That is crazy. That's a fair chunk of weight. Someone starting off at like 100, 120, that would be like at goal in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because I was sort of losing around the sort of 0.5 kilo to 800 grams a week at a time, and I thought that was amazing. But they always say that the more you've got to lose, the quicker it'll come off. So
you're going to get back on the footy field? You're going to get back out there and play footy, or what's your kind of plan exercise-wise going forward?
So ideally, I want to be playing football again this year. I sort of figured that if I can play at 220 and still somewhat make my way around the field, then the lighter I get, the easier it'll get. So I went back to training last night after heart complications. So now I'm just waiting for the all clear from the surgeon to start doing contact and that sort of stuff.
So you're just doing the cardio side of it at the moment at footy training? Yeah.
I figure that's probably the best at the moment. But yeah, for me to play rugby again this year would be the first goal. And then I stupidly promised someone that I'd do park run and run 5Ks. So
can I hold you to it?
So, yeah.
How old are you, by the way?
I am 31.
31. Because you said with the football thing, it's funny, when I lost my weight, I went back for a year to play football, to play league. And you would not understand how much that extra weight kind of gives you padding. Because, I went from being always front row, second row, to they were putting me in centres and stuff like that. And I was getting nailed. I just didn't have the weight behind me anymore. And I used to always, when I was bigger, it was just run forward, don't
towards
stop.
People, yeah.
And when you're, smaller, you've got to be able to move. Otherwise, you just get owned. You just get freaking owned. It's like some guy who's 140
That's why you prefer
kilos.
running now, because you're like, I don't have to run away from people.
I didn't know if it was because I had less weight on me or it was because I was older. I was 32 at that time, and my body was just broken. I remember I played against Kiwana, my first game back, got absolutely freaking nailed, and I was sore for weeks. I was like, okay, I'm done. This is not for me. My body just took too long to recover.
You're like, I'd much prefer to have no contact. I'll just go run real fast.
No, I think it's because I'm getting older. Even the other week, I fell off my scooter, and my shoulder hasn't been the same since. I'm like, this is just part of being old. It's just you can't take hits like you used to. Oh, jeez, it's soft.
Heading into normal food, I know I said I wouldn't really talk about normal
I
food
know.
for you, but
Look, you just teared up. You just made a guy cry. That's not really
heading into normal food, have you got a different approach to your eating behaviors compared to what you did? Like, do you have a plan of attack? Are you going to avoid certain things, or are you just going to sort of see how it happens?
No real plan. I think it won't change too much between now, like soft food and normal food. I guess it's like I'll find comfort in that softer food, so it's easier to eat and get through. But yeah, just staying away from places that I shouldn't be will probably be a good start. But yeah, for me, it's probably going to be much of the same, to be totally honest.
One of the nutritionists at the gym the other day, they said to me, instead of calling it healthy food, because that has like a healthy, a bad connotation to it, she tells her kids that it's food that we want to eat more of. So rather than being like good food, bad food, it's the foods that we want to eat more of, or the foods that we should eat a little bit less of. And I was like, I really like the way that you talk about that.
I don't know if it's gone too far with the whole food thing. Like, I was talking to Amy about it when we went on a run the other day, and we're talking about how like certain words can't be used when you're dealing with kids and nutrition and stuff. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, it's kind of got to just be like, you find out. But like these days, they're very like anti using negative words around food and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like,
yeah, but the word healthy, like I think that if I was like, oh no, it's a food that I want to eat more of, you're going to trick your brain into being like, oh no, but I want to eat more of that. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if you're saying healthy, it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't really feel like being healthy today, so I don't want to eat that food.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if bad food and good food ever played a part in my mindset of like the foods I chose. Like, it's either, oh, that's yum or that's not that's good, that's bad.
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
I'm like, I don't think everyone went.
Is that because you didn't have an understanding of what was good and what was bad?
I just like, I knew what my taste buds liked, so it was like, I didn't know if it was good or bad. Like, even these days, sometimes I'll eat something and I'll be like, that tasted too good that it's probably not good.
You're like, wait a second.
It's like, how many times do you have like those high protein products and you go, that can't be good for me.
It tastes too good.
It tastes too good. And usually, if you look on the back of the packaging, it's not good for you.
What's your thoughts on food for rewards though?
Yeah, well, I think that was a big case for me why I gained a lot of weight, because back when I was younger playing footy, you score a try, you got Maccas.
Yeah.
It was always like, we did the 40-hour famine. And then the day, like as it finished, we went to all you could eat Pizza Hut. And stuff like that, like little things like that. And then
I remember with the 40-hour famine, you were allowed to eat barley sugars. I think I ate like 7 packets of barley sugars.
I gave myself diarrhea because I ate so many barley sugars. But like I used to like go to Pizza Hut, and I would always pride myself on Mum being like, oh, Shannon will eat our money's worth. And that used to, because I would eat a lot. And then so I would always have that in my head. Like I used to eat until I felt sick, and then lay under the table, let my stomach settle, and then get back up and then go again. I know, but my mum never said a word about it because we were quite poor. Yeah. So for her, it was probably value like for money. Value for money. So for her, she was doing nothing wrong.
Yep.
But for me, looking back, I'm like, well, that's why I needed bariatric surgery, from little things like that, where I was always feeling like I was making Mum proud.
It's funny because I was
these little things.
Talking to your mum this afternoon. We did a PT session together, and we were talking about having kids or whatever, and how she's like, oh no, I'm just going to dose them up on sugar and then send them back, And I was just like, Deborah, the parents have both had weight loss surgery. You are not feeding our children sugar. And she goes, well, you bring them over here, my rules. And I was like, right, well, you're never looking after your grandkids then. She's like, you wouldn't do that to me. And I was like, okay, well, then you're paying for their bariatric surgery. You choose. Up to you. Like, you can't be just rewarding our children with lollies.
When it's then, I don't know. I do see what you're saying, but I also feel like if it's their nen, I don't know. Like, you want them to be excited to go see their nen, so I don't know. I'm on the fence because I'm very biased, okay?
The whole reason why I asked about food for reward is, again, I heard somebody the other day talking about food for a celebration rather than a reward. So if your team won, you'd celebrate the fact that the team won, not the fact that you scored a goal. You know what I mean? Like and around birthdays and all that sort of thing, it's okay to celebrate and eat the yummy food around the special occasions, but not as like a, well done, you washed your hands after you pooped today, let's give you a lollipop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but
even rewards.
Like, I've read a few things over the past week from people being like, oh, we're coming into Easter, you eat this food and celebrate with your family. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to take the approach now of don't look as the food as the treat. Look at the time with your family as the treat.
Yeah, look at the food as a celebration.
And the
of
food's
something
just there. You don't need to have it as your celebration. Because a lot of people are putting emphasis on the food and the family. I'm like, well, no.
Yeah, but
I just want to enjoy the family.
A celebration of like, well done, you came first in your track today. Like, well.
Yeah, I think that teaches bad things though. Like it
teaches people to run faster so you can eat Maccas.
Yeah, and that's why you have, Josh and I who play football and were morbidly obese because we scored too many tries. Okay, obviously, yeah, it's a curse. We're just too talented for our good.
My brother used to have somebody on his football team that his mum would literally be on the sideline and be like, "Pretend there's a Big Mac in front of you, run faster," and he'd just like pick up the pace. Like it was quite hilarious.
Different eras.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are quite early on, but have you got initial goals we talked about in the first 6 months, and long-term goals?
Yeah, so the big one for me was that 100 kilos. I think realistically I can do it. My surgeon thought otherwise. But yeah, for me, it's not necessarily the weight loss that's the main goal. It's probably just being more comfortable and just happy in myself, I guess. I can't remember the last time I was proper happy with myself. Not even when I was at my lowest with keto, I still probably wasn't happy or comfortable. And I think for me, that'll probably be the first actual goal that's not weight related, if that makes much sense.
Are you finding, because you're posting a lot of photos in your footy jerseys and all that sort of thing, are you finding that you are becoming a lot more comfortable and confident in yourself already? Or are you not quite there yet?
Yes and no. Like I said before, that for me, it's a mental game getting to that lowest point that I got to previously. For me, because I blew out more than, I was heavier than what I was when I started keto. So now it's, I tend to punish myself a bit, which is not great. But I think for me, mentally, to get to that point, that'll be just a massive relief. And from there, I can probably start feeling a bit more comfortable, a bit more happy, and that sort of thing. I've still obviously a long way to go, but yeah, to initially get to that would be good.
I feel like that will be a massive mental game for you. Like, say, once you've lost, say, 57 kilos and you're like, okay, like I've passed that point that I've been to before. And then when the scales keep on going down, it'll just be like yep, I've got this. And plus, your surgeon doesn't think that you can lose 100 kilos, so you just got to show it to him.
No, he after our first initial appointment, he thought I was pretty angry because he just rubbished it straight away. Because the nurse, I gave the figure to the nurse in my first phone call, and I was like, I'd love to lose 100 kilos. And then with him, he's like, well, you won't get there. And so from that, I sort of had the moment where I was like, I'm not going to go through all this. I'm not going to pay all this money out of my super to lose 20 kilos. It's just not worth it. I can do it myself. Obviously, I can't because I struggled. But yeah, it was always I'm going to prove it to him wrong. And then after I lost that 20 kilos, he sort of probably saw that I could do it. And that's when he changed his tune a bit, but I still don't think he can get there.
I would like to think that he said that to create that challenge because, being you and a guy, setting a challenge like that, we go froth at the mouth and we want to beat someone when they doubt us like that. So I hope he did it for that reason because I feel like as a surgeon, saying something like that isn't a good thing to do. You should always be encouraging, be like, it could be hard for you to get there, but if you focus hard enough, you can do whatever you want to do kind of thing.
Yeah, but maybe he just read the room and went, all right,
looked at him
Josh
and goes,
needs somebody to be like, nah, you can't do it. So you turn around and go, well, you know what? Stuff you. I am. I'm going to do it. I'll show you. I'll prove you wrong.
I think it was probably a realistic expectations conversation, I think. But yeah, it'd be nice if he was trying to spur me on, but
who knows?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
You'll have to ask him at your 6-month appointment or whenever.
Yeah.
And have you thought about long-term goals, or you're just sort of focusing on each day as it comes?
At the moment, it's each day as it comes, I think. You've got the little goals that you tick off along the way with different activities that you can do, and clipping your toenails or tying your shoes up without losing your breath or just stuff like that. But the more you see those sort of things become more comfortable, those goals are ticking off. But for me, it's definitely I want to get to that 100 kilos.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you located in Australia?
So Maitland, so just west of Newcastle.
Western Newcastle. And have you got a partner?
I do. So I've got a wife and we've got a dog.
I've got a wife and a dog.
And a
Yeah.
dog.
No, I was the same.
I'm glad that you put your wife before your dog.
Yeah. I got a dog.
I have a
Yeah.
dog
And a wife.
And a wife. But no, yeah, it's just that.
Yeah. How's she going with it all? Like with you doing this whole process?
Yeah, it's obviously it's got its challenges. You know, like living her life as normally, eating as normally as possible, and I'm, you know, trying to get through what I've got to get through. So it's had its moments, but yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, because it all goes hand in hand though, because it is a big change for both parties, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
sometimes hard because she hasn't had weight loss surgery or anything. No.
Nah.
Yeah, it makes it hard for people to get on board with it when they're kind of living the life you guys had, and then you've made this big transition, and trying to like find a compromise in the middle can be quite tough sometimes. So you know, it's definitely
Yeah,
something
for sure.
everyone has to focus on and work on from both parties. But Josh,
we'd love to get you on again in about 6 months, like when you're around your 6 month mark, and touch back in and see how you're going, see how
then you would
close
have
you are to that
you would
100.
have gone past that 150 kilos by then. You'd be like,
I'd hope so.
the smile's going to get bigger and bigger because you can already see he's got a big smile, and I just feel like give it 6 months and that'd just be like fully glued on your face 24/7.
And the mullet's going to be nice and luscious. And
Will be. It will be nice and lush by then.
Yeah, so you can straighten it out. Go full John. What is it? John Dirt? No, Johnny Dirt. No.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Oh wow, I'm really up to my mullet knowledge.
No, but we'd absolutely love to touch base with you again in a couple of months' time around your 6 month mark, and just see how you're going and see where you're at, and pick your brain a little bit more.
For sure, sounds good.
Yeah, and if someone wants to reach out to you, if they kind of like heard something that you know they went, oh, you know, that's me too, and want to reach out to you, where's the best place to reach out to you at?
Just on Instagram. So it's what is it? Finally.finding.wally. But yeah, it's probably the best place. I get blown away by the people already reaching out, whether, you know, my partner's going to have weight loss surgery, what tips you got and that sort of stuff. So no, I'm always happy to have a chat.
Yeah,
awesome.
no.
And it's really good having a bloke's perspective as well, because there's not a lot of guys in the community that talk about it. So I love that you are so open and honest and raw about the whole thing. So yeah,
definitely.
I love it.
For me, I think it's like, as much as I'm sharing it for my personal thing, I think because I got inspired, obviously, to get it. So there's Azza, he's up in Queensland. Can't remember what his Instagram is for the life of me, but I remember watching his video in September, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that was it. I was done. So I think for me, if I can have that sort of inspiration on someone and make that change in their life, I think obviously I've done my job.
Yeah, you will. 100% you will. Sometimes you don't even know you do. So 100% you being open and honest, sharing your story, and, you know, being transparent will definitely help somebody make their decision a little bit easier. So thank you on behalf of them, and thank you on behalf of us.
If anybody wants to meet good old Josh in real life, the Melbourne meetup party.
Oh, you're going to Melbourne
soon.
meetup?
Hey. Yeah, I've had a bit of a goal that I wanted to step out of my comfort zone a bit more after this, because obviously you live your life in a bit of a shell when you're overweight and hide yourself away. So for me, getting out of my comfort zone, doing things like this, and going to Melbourne to go to a meetup is definitely out of my comfort zone. So
yeah, you'll love the meetups.
You'll have a blast. They're
the
so
most
much
comfortable.
fun.
It's like, you know, what you always dreamed a nightclub would be like back in the day, but never was. And then you go to like one of these meetups, and it's just like such an accepting, non-judgmental place. Well,
because everybody's anxious before
everyone's
before you
shitting
get
their
there.
pants and has social anxiety. So together you kind of go, oh my god, this is actually kind of cool. So no, excited to
love
see
it.
how it all goes for you. And thank you again for coming on, guys. If you want to reach out to Josh /Wally. We'll put his link below. If you do want to come on Barry Banter, let us know. You can go to www.baribanter.com/guest form.
Be our guest, I think it is, but you'll find it. It's
and fill out a form, and would love to have you on. Our next month, we're going to talk
6 months,
6 to
beyond.
12,
yeah,
or we might even go plastics. We haven't decided
Whee!
yet. Either way, guys, absolute pleasure. That's another episode of
Barry Banter.
Well, yes, that is another episode of Barry Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com, where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.